All right, welcome back to the Buddhist Podcast. My name is Noah Cease, and today the topic is emotions once again, but this time it's going to be in focus on understanding why there's no such thing as a bad emotion. Certainly everyone has felt anger and sadness, resentment, jealousy, and a whole slew of other emotions that we typically consider negative or bad, but I am here to challenge that idea in completely and totally, and hopefully we can kind of get a little bit more familiar with experiencing emotions without feeding into emotions. So let's get into it. Now, most people think of emotions like sadness, jealousy, and all those other kind of things as bad because they are unpleasant to experience, obviously. But why does that make them bad? Why is discomfort, why is being uncomfortable, why is experiencing things that are hard automatically bad? Really, they're not. It just is uncomfortable, and people generally don't like to be uncomfortable. But that's the world that we live in. That's the life that we have. Things are uncomfortable. So let's just deal with that. Okay? Things aren't always going to be comfortable, wonderful things. And that's a good thing, and that's perfectly fine. Now, again, there's no such thing as a bad emotion, but that doesn't mean there's not bad thoughts that go along with the emotion. And I think that's honestly what most people have trouble distinguishing, the thoughts they have while they're feeling one of these less appealing emotions versus the actual emotional experience itself. People often drive themselves down into a deeper negative emotional spiral because of the thoughts that are coming up with it. Now, we've talked before about how the brain wants to have a reason for emotions and how that reason then just picks up more memories, more thoughts, more thinking to find greater and greater evidence for the emotion that you're experiencing. So it's not that the emotion is bad, it's that the thoughts that often accompany the emotion are bad. For instance, usually when people are feeling sad or hopeless, they have thoughts that make them sad. They think of their failures, they think of the mistakes, they think of the people that they've hurt in the past or decisions that they made that they regret, and on and on and on. And, the thoughts really don't serve a purpose there. All they do is intensify the emotion. But if you were actually just to sit there, acknowledge the feeling of sadness, identify, where is it in your body? How does it feel to experience sadness? Then, it's uncomfortable. It is, but it's also a lot shorter. Okay, the brain gets bored when it's just an emotion without all the thinking. And so the brain lets go of the feeling, and you feel more connected anytime that you actually sit and experience the feeling. And then the more familiar that you become with the actual experience of the emotion, the less control it has over you in the future as well. And, the crazy thing is we don't do this even with pleasant emotions. We don't do this with feelings of joy or happiness or contentedness or peace or calm. When we are feeling good, we just we do the same thing. We just keep moving through it. And, if we're having a good time with friends, then we're just enjoying every single second as it comes, reacting and responding to the moment. We don't usually take a moment to set back and acknowledge the fact that, wow, what is joy? Now that I'm happy, I'm laughing, what does this really feel like? Well, it feels like, being lighthearted. It feels like just positive energy just flowing through your body. Everything feels good and comfortable and relaxed and easy. And so, again, the point here is that we don't pay attention really to any of our emotional experiences. We just kind of move through them and never really think about the fact that we are emotional beings. We think things happen and we feel a certain way about them, but that's not really the case. It's that we feel all the time, and then your brain looks for reasons to support the feeling. We are hugely emotional things. And it is such a mistake to ignore our emotional experience. Feelings of disconnection, feelings of loneliness, feelings of isolation and rejection. These are very, very common human experiences that we don't really investigate within ourselves. And so what I'm trying to get across is that if you pay attention to your emotional experience, if you sit back with the emotion and observe what it's like to actually feel it without all the thoughts, without all the storytelling, just the emotion at the emotional level, then you're rebuilding a connection, a deep, deep connection to yourself. So not only are you going to be able to move through the emotional experience more quickly and effectively, but you're actually establishing a bridge, a connection to all the parts of you that feel or have ever felt rejected or alone or confused or any of those other unpleasant emotions. And the more that you build that connection, the more secure you're going to start feeling within yourself. And, for a lot of guys especially, there's this fear of being weak, that if you acknowledge, feelings like sadness or regret or loneliness, if you express any emotions through crying or whatever, then that equates to weakness. But I'm telling you, it's the opposite. Okay, what's weak is being unable to confront the most difficult part of being alive, which is your emotional experience. What's weak is pretending that you do not have those emotions, that you just bottle them up, because what's going to happen through that weakness is that you're going to break. And that might be in a violent outburst, or it might be in mental health, or it might be in physical fatigue, or who knows what else. It might develop into cancer or Alzheimer's or literally any number of different things. That's not strong. That's not strength. Strength is being able to acknowledge the most difficult part about being alive. It's being able to feel those emotions. Now, I'm not saying every single time you feel upset, you should, whine and cry and throw a fit. That's not experiencing the emotion. That's, barely even an expression of the emotion. That's just complaining. So when I talk about experiencing the emotion, what I mean is carve out some time for yourself when you can be settled and really bring up that emotion that you felt earlier in the day when it maybe would have been inappropriate to really express it at that time. So think about the experience. Think about what it made you feel. Get comfortable with the discomfort of what it's like to be an emotional being. So again, this takes, it takes practice, it takes courage, it takes bravery to do this. And, but we all should be doing it. Men, women, kids. The earlier you can start kids on learning that their emotions aren't bad, that their emotions are just feelings, and that feelings are completely appropriate and okay. It's what you do with the feelings that are good or bad. So when you get angry, having some kind of a explosive outburst, that's not a good thing. Okay, if you're sad, if you're hurt, if you're rejected, turning that inward into yourself and telling yourself that you're worthless, that's bad. That's not good. But being able to tell yourself, wow, I feel worthless. Well, what does that really mean? Worthless. Why is that there? Because maybe you were rejected, denied, maybe you were passed up for something or whatever. So get to that. Worthlessness is a secondary emotion like anger. Anger is protecting something of you. Worthlessness is a result of other emotions over time. So get down to the core emotions. Let yourself experience what it's like to feel that, because you are not your emotions, and you're certainly not the thoughts you have about your emotions. You are the thing that endures the change in emotion over time. So you can sit down, you can experience it, you can express these emotions in healthy ways through writing, through crying, through other various means of exploration, art, poetry, movement, physical activity, any number of things are a really good way to express the emotion. But again, being able to identify it and experience it as it is without the thoughts, that's the best thing that anybody can hope to do. So we're going to end there. Nice, short, and sweet today. There's no such thing as a bad emotion, just bad thoughts that come from it. So that's all. I'd love to see comments below about what your thoughts, if any further explanations needed, any suggestions for future episodes. Appreciate all of that all the time. So I hope you have a wonderful night. I hope you have a great week. And who knows, maybe someday I'll be a little bit more consistent with content. Adios.